Hi, friends. My name is Toni Cureton. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Life Skills FYI. Life Skills FYI provides a set of core adult capabilities to manage work, family, and relationships successfully. It's designed to help build the skills adults need for life. Life Skills FYI teaches skills of planning, awareness, focus, self-control, and flexibility. They are daily living skills to promote successful, independent living, skills that every adult should know who were never taught in school. Life Skills FYI premieres on Thursdays at 10 a.m. on our My Virtual Academy Facebook page and on Instagram. Today, we are going to go over some basic tips to care for pets. So, having a pet is rewarding. They can entertain you, comfort you, and be your companion, but it can also be hard work as well. If you are well prepared and you do your research and you love your pet unconditionally, caring for pets, they don't have to be stressful situations. Today, I'm going to share some basic tips of how to support any animal addition to your family. First, you need to determine if you can adequately care for a pet. And this is a consideration that you need to do in advance before you buy one. While pets are loving additions to your home, they are not always easy to manage. All pets require time, money, and love in addition to the specific needs of each animal and their breed. Most pets require attention and maintenance during the day so that you need to make sure that you're home enough to take care of your pet so your pet doesn't experience distress and anxiety of being constantly in an empty home. If you have children, consider what pets will be kid-friendly. Hamsters and fish, for example, they make great starter pets. If you plan on moving or making some really large lifestyle changes, it's best to get all of those things settled before you take on a new animal companion, because animals need stability. Next, you should choose a pet that fits your lifestyle. Even different types of dogs have different needs. So make sure that you pick a pet that suits your family, your personality. Before buying a pet, do a thorough research on the behaviors and the needs of various pets that you like. Don't go into this decision dead set on a specific species or breed. Be open-minded, and that way you will have a happy match between you and your pet, and there'll be no surprises. Don't forget also that there are ongoing costs to caring for a pet. You need to factor in the cost of purchasing food on a regular basis, getting a veterinarian for preventive care like shots, as well as emergency care. It's essential because you want to keep your pet healthy and happy. Here are a few things to keep in mind when you're considering getting a new pet and adding this addition to your home. For dogs, there are a huge number of breeds and species, So what you want to do is research the breed of dog that you're interested in thoroughly. And you want to make sure that you're available to your dog, because all dogs need attention and they need time and they need to exercise and they need plenty of room to roam. And so if you live in a small, apartment where, there's not a lot of space for your dog to roam and spread out, and you work late hours and so you don't have time to walk your dog. These are very valid and vital things that you should consider. Your dog has to be exercised, so you have to be there to do it. Or maybe you could hire a service to walk your dog. Um, and your dog has to have room to explore and move around and roam and run. And if you live in a cramped space, it's not going to be very good for your dog. Cats, on the other hand, they're intelligent and they're independent, and they're fine with less supervision, although they still need your love and your time, and your care. And that keeps them from acting out when, you're not around. Now, hamsters, gerbils, ferrets, and rodents, any type of rodents, they are very economical, but they are short-lived. They don't last for a very long time. You know, unlike dogs, you get many years, cats, many years. With species, the rodent species, they don't live that long. So that's something that you may want, especially if you're buying these for children, that is something that you want to make sure that you share with them, because, a sudden death can be quite traumatic for, a young child, and especially if this is their first pet. So if you're going to get a pet in the rodent family, in the species of a rodent, make sure that you prepare your young child for the possibility of, them dying. Also, if you have a rodent, it's important that you keep their cages and you keep their living spaces clean, because they have strong odors. Now, fish, they don't really require a lot in the sense of like what a dog or a cat or even a rodent might require. You just put them in their tank and they swim. But fish are very sensitive. And in order for them to thrive and survive, they have to have the right water temperature. They have to have filters. They have to have pumps in their tanks. And the algae has to be kept at a certain level, and pH levels have to be, at a certain level. So while they may not require a lot of, physical care and attention, they are very sensitive in their tanks and their bowls. And if the conditions are not right, then they will not thrive. So that's a thing that you have to consider with fish. Now, with lizards and turtles, they're happy on their own and generally are easy to care for. They don't need cuddling and affection like, maybe a dog or a cat, but they do, you still do need to pay attention to them from time to time. And the thing about lizards and turtles, because they are of the reptile family, it is hard to diagnose when they get sick. They don't really show symptoms like a dog or a cat. Now with birds, birds can be loud and messy. They are also quite expensive, and they can be very temperamental, especially the larger birds like parrots. So, and birds, and I didn't realize this either, but birds also, they're social creatures, and they need attention. They need interaction. So that's something that you also have to consider. Rabbits are friendly first-time pets for children as well as adults, and they make great companions in the household. And they're, low maintenance in the sense of, they don't bark or things like that, but they do make some noise, and they do tend to make a mess. So you need to create a space for them to explore and move as well. How do you prepare your house for your new pet companion. You should, again, in advance, before you get your pet, you should make these provisions before they get there. Pets are curious, they are food driven, and they are unable to listen to warnings that, oh no, don't go over there, the stove is hot, it's too dangerous. They don't understand any of that. So it's important for you to pet proof your home in, in anticipation of their arrival. They can get into all kinds of things because they don't understand boundaries. So you have to create boundaries and safe spaces for your pets. If, especially if you're going to allow them to roam the house freely, from their cages and their pens. If you're going to allow them to do that, you definitely have to pet proof your home. You have to make sure that windows and doors are not open so that they can escape. You have to make sure that you secure and close up any small spaces and gaps that they can use to, get caught in, trapped in, or escape from, especially smaller pets like, rodents, lizards, things like that. Smaller spaces that they can get into and trapped, and, you have to pay attention to that, and you have to plug up those areas, so that they don't harm themselves. Make sure that there aren't any openings, doors and windows, and mindful when you enter in and out so that they don't run out and, get free. You don't want to do that. So you make sure that you pet proof your home, just like when you have children and you don't want them to be harmed or get into any dangerous situation, you have to do the same thing for pets. You should really, ideally, you should really create a space or a room for your pet, and that is their designated area to be, so that they feel, safe and happy and secure. They've got a space that they can be in, they can be free in, and don't have to worry about, running into danger or hazards. You should really do that, with your pets. Create an area for them. And if you have a fenced in yard, you should, go out and secure any spaces, and then allow your pets to go out and play freely in those areas. Pet supplies. Make sure before your pet arrives, you talk to your veterinarian and find out what are the needs of your pet. Do your pet need chew toys? Do your pet need scratching posts? Find out all of these things from your veterinarian, and talk to supply store attendants, and figure out what it is you need, purchase it, and set it up in your home, and have it waiting for when your new pet arrives. You can also do this in advance for the purpose of, especially if you have children, you have to teach them how to deal with and interact with, your new pet family member. And a good practice for this would be helping, having your children water plants and pretend to feed a doll. That way they get in the habit and the practice and become aware of the responsibility of feeding and watering your, pet family member. Now you also need to be aware that you have to schedule regular visits with your veterinarian. Be sure to bring your pet into the vet no sooner than you get your pet. Whether you get it from a pet store or a private breeder, or you adopt it from your local humane society, make sure you take your pet in to the vet directly. And on your first visit, you need to be talking about and discussing with your veterinarian when should you schedule appointments, how to spot serious problems before how to spot problems before they become serious conditions. Um, find out, what your pet needs are dietary wise and what they need medically. Be sure to schedule shots and vaccinations as soon as you can. Make sure that the pet has all of the proper vaccines and the proper preventive medicine suggested by your veterinarian. You can also ask your veterinarian what symptoms that you need to look for in your pet when your pet gets sick. Knowing your pet's normal behavior is important, because if they become sick or injured, you won't know what to look for if you don't monitor and look at and observe how your pet normally interacts. And that way, when something's wrong, you can identify it, readily. When your pet gets sick, they will act unusual. They will sleep longer, more. They will go off, in a corner to themselves quietly and stay for longer periods of time, as opposed to, being more engaging. They will refrain from eating their food or drinking water or wanting treats. If they begin to act oddly or act in this manner, check them over. Look over their little pet bodies and make sure that they're not injured. Monitor and keep an eye on how they eat and what they eat and when they drink, and if they're drinking or eating at all. And if they stop doing these normal things, take them to the veterinarian. If they have obvious wounds that are concerning you, take them to the veterinarian. Keep your veterinarian's number handy, as well as a veterinarian hospital in case of an emergency. Also, if you have dogs and cats, make sure you spay them and neuter them so that we do not have pet overpopulation. Next, make sure your new family member has food that suits their nutritional needs. The cheapest foods out there that you find because you need to stretch a buck and you like a good bargain, it may not be the healthiest food for your pet. As well as feeding animals table scraps. No matter how cute they look when they begin to beg for food, it's not a good idea to give them people food because they don't contain the same minerals and nutrients that pets need in their diet. So it's not a good idea to feed them from the table. Purchase the food that is going to be most beneficial to them and feed them that kind of food. Also, table food can be harmful to pets. There are many things that we have in our foods that their stomachs, simply can't digest and handle. For example, dogs can't eat chocolate. It will kill them if they do. So this is something that you really need to be mindful of and consider. Only feed your pet the appropriate foods and give them responsible, reasonable, correct portion sizes. Just like people, if you overfeed a pet, they can gain weight and become unhealthy also. So give your dog, your cat, your animals, even fish, you can overfeed fish too. Give your animals, give your pets the correct amount, the correct portion size, and trust and believe that that is sufficient and that they're not starving and they're not going to get sick and die. Also, feed your pets natural food, the food that is appropriate for them. Often cases, that's the more expensive brand, but it's healthier. And you want to keep your pet as healthy as possible, so tend to lean towards feeding your pet the natural food as opposed to the processed food that's out there and readily available. Also, it is vital that your pets remain hydrated. Make sure you check throughout the day your pet's water supply. Replenish it if it's empty and make sure that there are no contaminants in it and the water is not clean. Drinking, if someone handed you a glass of water that had things floating around in it, A, you wouldn't drink it, but two, it would be harmful to you. It's the same with your pets. Make sure you check their water supply throughout the day periodically and refresh it. Also, cleaning your pets as well as their enclosures. Cleaning your pets will keep both you and your pet healthy and happy. Create a daily cleaning schedule and stick to it. Cleaning your animal and their living spaces prevents diseases as well as odors. When bathing your pet, you should make sure that the water is lukewarm and that the products you use are not filled with dyes and perfumes and harmful things that could cause allergic reactions. Also, consider if you find grooming your pet, cleaning your pet a bit much, then take your pet to a professional groomer. Take your pet to a professional and let them do it. You know how we as people have spa days. Let that be your pet's spa day. Exercise. Exercising your pet. Exercise is truly important. Think of it this way. If your animal was free, it would do what is natural to them. Now that you've taken responsibility of bringing a pet into your home, you have to make sure that those things that come natural or would come natural to your pet, you're providing. You have to figure out what your pet needs as far as exercise, if they need any at all. For example, a turtle does not need exercise. So if you have a dog or a cat or a bunny or an animal that is, likes to roam and is active, you have to make sure that you consider your lifestyle and you have to match it with your pets. You have to take time to walk your dog, your cat, your rabbit. Make sure that they have the ability to run and just run in the open space. You have to make sure that they have an ability to do that, because if you don't provide these things for your pet, it could cause your pet to become destructive and have aggression, and you don't want that. Sometimes you see animals acting aggressively because their owner has them chained up in the backyard, and that dog, that cat, they're not allowed to be who they are naturally. So in response to not being able to do what comes natural to them, they become aggressive, and their behavior becomes destructive. So make sure that you provide opportunities on a daily, regular basis for your pet family members. Walk them, run them, provide them with spaces where they can, just explore and run and exert themselves. It helps them. Also, you have to make sure that you give your pets affection. Though certainly true of dogs and cats, even fish and lizards require dedication and love to really thrive. Animals are social beings and they like humans and they like being around humans. And you need to set aside time to play with your pets, to pet your pets, and to make sure that they are being stimulated. You also have to make sure that if you have the kind of pet that needs training, a dog, a cat, bunny, rabbit, you have to train your pets. A major part of caring for them is training. Training is essential for the safety of the animal and the people who interact with it. When you walk into your home, your dog should not jump on people. That's not good behavior. And you need to train that dog that when people enter, unless you give the command for the dog to interact, the dog needs to sit, the dog needs to stay in their space. You also have to make time for your pet. Some animals require more attention than others. Dogs, cats, they tend to require a lot of your time as opposed to turtles and lizards and whatnot, but you still have to make the time for all of them, and be sure that you're capable of fulfilling what it is that that pet needs. You can't just buy a pet and leave it on its own. You have to, when you engage into that relationship, you have to provide what that animal would normally get if they were on their own. If they were on their own, they would seek out their own kind and interact with them. And you have to be that provider. You have to be that person that does that for your pet. And you have to love your pet. Love is what this relationship between you and your pet is all about. You have to show them your affection by petting and playing with them. If you have small animals, you have to clean their cages daily. You are not showing your pet love if you let them sit in filth. Plus, it brings diseases and it causes bad odors in your home. And you don't want that. It also causes them to act out. They become aggressive. They become destructive because they don't like living in filth. If you have pets that shed, make sure you vacuum on a regular basis and vacuum up that fur from all around the house. Make sure you wash their pet beds on a regular basis. Neglecting to clean your pet could result in infection. So you have to stay on top of cleanliness for your pet family member. So, final takeaways. While these steps are general guidelines for pet ownership, each animal is different and you will need to adapt accordingly. Make sure you ask friends who have similar pets. Check out books, go on the internet, do online searches, go to different search boards that provide information on specific breeds or species. You can never gain too much information about your pet family member. Also, you have to remember to be flexible once you bring your pet home. Pets have personalities too, they have different wants and different needs. And so you have to be patient, you have to be understanding, and you have to make adjustments so that you can make your pet feel as welcome in your home as you do. Well, that's all my time for today. Thank you for tuning in to Life Skills FYI. Again, you can look at videos of Life Skills FYI every Thursday at 10 a.m. on our My Virtual Academy Facebook page. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My number is 586-842-0558. That's 586-842-0558. Again, my name is Toni Cureton. Thanks so much for tuning in. And always remember to adult responsibly.